The following podcast is brought to you by Cast Content Media.
Hey guys, it's Ron Worley, your most imperfect host of Sons of Ditches. People are liars, thieves, addicts, and assholes. Some people change, and a few make a difference. But everyone has a story.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Sons of Ditches. This is going to be a good one, guys. Today we have a new friend of mine, Brent Scarpo, former casting director for films like The Shawshank Redemption, which is one of my favorites of all time, Air Force One, Things That You Do, and Matilda. Now he's a life coach, an intuitive life coach, giving life lessons that he discovered in Hollywood and specializing in millennials. Now that's something all on its own, guys, so I can't wait to hear this. He's got a program he calls Millennials Are Amazing, which I've talked to him off the air, and I think he's right. I just have been looking at him all wrong. Just kidding, guys. I love you. Brent, how are you, buddy?
I'm wonderful. What a joy and a pleasure. I see you're outside. I'm in Indiana. You're in Colorado. What a great setup. Yeah,
this is pretty cool. We can do this these days. You know, the millennials have it right. This is a millennial project.
It is. We all serve a purpose in society. We just have to take the time to find what our assets are and allow that purpose to unveil itself.
Hey, I like it. So right off the bat, one of the things that intrigued me is I think we share. I talk about live like you're dying, and you say get busy living or get busy dying. Now that's the Shawshank Redemption type motto, isn't it?
Yeah, that is. In fact, it's one of the greatest scenes in the movie because I've seen it over. In fact, it was on last night yet again, back to back, and I watched it. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, well, of course it's on now. I mean, it's on every day. You know, if I have any regrets whatsoever about Shawshank, it's that that was the moment I chose to be behind the camera instead of being an actor, because those actors are still getting paid to this day. It's insane. You don't even know. We just celebrated the 25th anniversary 2 years ago, and sadly I was not able to go. I was so bummed out, but a lot of my the actors that I hire and the background, all that were there, so they took video and such. But a lot of the cast, Frank Darabont was there, and one of the greatest pivotal moments is when Andy Dufresne is with his best friend Red, Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman, and you think things are not going to go too well, and when you know that you're. Look, I've read your story. I love it. I've listened to the podcast. Yeah. I say to my clients this: it's not about the problem. It's about your relationship to the problem.
Sure.
Right? Forget the problem. Problems are going to show up every day of our lives, but the relationship that we have to it is what's going to define our present and our future. And so in that moment in time, Red doesn't know exactly what Andy Dufresne is going to do, and it's a little scary. And he said, well, I guess it comes down to two things: get busy living or get busy dying. And Morgan's character doesn't know which one he's going to pick.
That's right. And I suppose that this is what you meant by using some of your lessons from Hollywood, because I think that saying alone is stuck with many of us after we watch that movie many, many times now. But it was
I have 10 of them. There's 10 of these that, we'll go over them if you like, but get busy living or get busy dying. The fact is, and what that's about, is that you have to take action steps in your life in order for you to move forward, right?
Yeah.
Look at COVID. All my clients, I freaked out. I'll be very transparent. I was like, what in the world? I never thought I'd live to be this age to have something crazy like this happen, but here I am. So the problem is what? COVID. I have to identify the relationship I'm going to have with COVID. I've got clients that are freaking out. I had one client who lost all 3 of her jobs in 72 hours because they were all in the restaurant business. So I have to figure out how to, empower myself so that I can empower others. So I came up with this little bit of this saying, which is kind of like the get busy living, get busy dying. And I said to my clients, I said, well, you've got one of two choices. You can either do the time or the time can do you. We're going to pick one. I got 168 projects done where I live.
Right?
168.
Wow.
I've never looked at YouTube so many times in my entire life on how to do stuff, right?
Yeah, I
And
want.
so, yeah, so it's that concept of let's get into action in whatever it is that we can do based on the current circumstances, right?
Yeah.
Versus just laying, okay, I'm going to be depressed. I'm not going to do anything. Woe's me. All the different things that we go through when it comes to that little pity party. One of my favorite, it's my favorite. A lot of people don't know this, but we got a poster on the 10th anniversary, and I've got the first poster up on my office, and then I put that up. I've seen that poster a million times. I finally looked at the caption, and I'll tell you the reason why Shawshank is one of the top 10 films you're supposed to see before you die, according to the American Film Institute. The caption for the movie is this: fear can hold you prisoner. Hope can set you free. Let me say it again.
Wow.
Fear can hold you prisoner. Hope can set you free. If we look at the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, we have been engulfed in fear. Right? Man-made, put together, put upon us, all of that. And we're just desperate for some kind of hope. So that's where we have to face those fears. We have to create the necessary action steps, get busy living to overcome them.
Yeah, man. What a great thing that movies can help shape our lives. With that movie in particular, had so many great lessons in it that we weren't even paying attention to. The first time you watch the movie, you wouldn't even pay attention. But I think that's great because, I was into movies when I was a kid. I watched all of them. I still now today, that helped me get sober, was Movie Tuesday,
Right.
And so there's such a close identification. And then, today I'm out golfing with the friends and, go to your hole. We're always quoting movies. So they're very much a part of our life. So it's really cool that you've been able to incorporate your past, your movie history into your program today with millennials. I think that probably helps them stick some of the stuff to stick for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that I love about working with millennials, because again they're a different culture. We talked earlier. There's 5 different cultures literally in the workplace right now, right? And that's just unheard of. So we've got the baby boomers, the Gen X, the millennials. We've got Gen Z, and then what we got I call the silent generation, which is from 1928 to 1945. And in some shape or form, somewhere, all 5 of those are working together. And so we have these different cultures. Yeah, it's literally, to me, it's like 5. I've been to Europe 17 times. It's like 5 different countries going to the workplace, and we don't know all the languages. So you got France, Italy, you've got Germany, you've got India, and you've got Greece, and they all go to work one day, and they're trying to make a product.
Right.
And you're like,
what do you say?
That's exactly what it is. And as I said to you, we have a vast majority and I love my millennials. I love them so much. They're on so many levels, they're misunderstood. I'll even give you listeners the number one way to work with, be friends with, whatever you're doing with millennials. So why do millennials show up for work? What is it that they want, right? Like, why did they go to work? I'll let you guess. What's the one reason why they go to work?
Well, we know it's not for material items because they're not materialistic.
Good.
So it's got to be for, I would say coffee normally. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Coffee's always good. Coffee's always good. You never know.
I would say maybe for the honor for the honor of going to work to get something accomplished.
Okay, so you're really close. So this is key for everybody who works with my amazing millennials, in that millennials want to make a difference. That's what I'm telling you. It is the key to all your challenges. The baby boomers and why don't they just do what they're told? They don't do what they're told. That's not who they are. I have a baby boomer. They said, "Hey, Brent, we need you to work 18 hours a day, and we're only going to pay you for 8." And I go, "Okay, sure, whatever you want." That's how I was raised, of course. Oh, right. And then I go, "Well, I could work 19 if you want."
Yeah.
Oh, 18? Okay, well, I'm available. If you want 19 or 20, no, I don't need to worry about sleep. I'm fine. Don't worry about sleep. No, it's fine. That's a baby boomer. They told you what to do. You did it without question, right? And you were grateful. I've got a job. I'm getting paid $2.75 an hour. This is a good day. Right? This is not. Don't even try to think millennials operate that way. They operate from the perspective of we want to make a difference in the world, and it for the most part colors every aspect of their life. So I give an example when I was doing corporate training, in that. So a millennial will say, you'll go to a millennial and say, I need that report, a sales report by Friday. Why? It drives you crazy. I know. It drives you crazy.
Don't ask why, just do it.
Right? Just do it. Just need it by Friday. I've got 400 emails to answer, and you're asking me why, right? And then you just calm down, you breathe, and say, well, because we need those numbers because we're having our meeting. Why? And you're going to get that. Now, if you can tie all the tasks that you want our phenomenal millennials to do with an outcome that's going to make a difference, then you got them hook, line, and sinker. I need you to do the sales report by Friday. Why? Well, once we get the sales report, we'll have an idea of how much leftover money we have that we can put on our foundation, which helps children with cancer. Oh, okay, I'll have it to you by Friday.
Very important now. I've got to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, you just it's not just doing it for the sake of doing it. They are very purposeful, right? Sure. Look at what's happened in the last 2, 3, 4 years. I would say I was a bit of a rebel in my 20s, so I've been to a number of my own particular protests and things that I believe in. But at that time, you pretty much saw, a very it wasn't as eclectic as it is now. If it was something to do, it might be all Caucasian people, or all gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual people, or all people of color. You look, and I love it. You look at all the different, protests that we've seen last 3 to 5 years, right? You see the world. Right? You see, people of color, gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual. You see white people. You see, women, gender. They're millennials. They've all come together because they all want to have a difference. And it really was quite beautiful when I seen all the different, protests that were happening for whatever particular reasons. I was like, wow, this isn't just one group. Oh, it is. It's all the millennials.
Right. The group is the millennials.
That's right.
They're also responsible for bringing cause to the corporate world. A lot of these, you see it on Shark Tank all the time. A lot of these millennial-owned companies will say, "Yeah, so we're selling this product, but $1 of every sale goes to help kids."
Isn't it amazing? Look at the socks. We gave away 40 million socks to the homeless people, right? I'm telling you, they will not do a product unless they know that they can do something. It's different from, say, baby boomers or, those that say, well, it's all about the money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember it was, I'm a minimalist now, because it was like, I was all about how big is my mansion, how big is my condo, how many, all that. And then I realized through my own, empowerment, that I was like, okay, that really doesn't, I'm still not happy, right? I got, 2 cars, or I have a beautiful vase I spent $5,000, but I'm really miserable. So about 15 years ago, went through a minimalism phase and just really discovered that, for me, it's not about the stuff outside of who it is that I am, but it's about what it is that I do, with all my actions. That is very much millennials.
Yeah, and it's shaped the way all companies are nowadays, and even myself. So it helps my workout too, because I always talk about using your values to run your company.
Right.
And it wasn't popular, back in 2010 when I was coming up with this. But nowadays, everybody's using values to run their company, and it's because that's what it takes for a millennial to be a part of a company. They have to jive with the values. They have to be
Oh, look, I mean, we teach companies now how to create mission statements, how to create value statements, how non-discrimination clauses on their website. I know millennials that they'll go to the website, and if they don't see any of that stuff, I'm not working for them. No, I'll stay at home. I don't mind living in my parents' basement. I'm good.
Damn. When did that was never a part of my vocabulary. you don't have to work. Just sit in the basement.
And look at, and so I just, read the jobs report. Look at, again, it's not about the problem, it's a relationship to it. So we're seeing that there's all these, look at all the jobs that are out there. Now, if this was you and I, because I'm thinking you identify as the baby boomer.
Well, no, actually, I'm a Gen Xer. You're
a Gen Xer. Okay, so I'm a baby boomer. So, I mean, there was a point in time I had 3 jobs at the same time. It was all about the work ethic, right? I remember, back in the maybe, I don't know if it was the 80s or whatever, people couldn't find jobs. And I would jokingly say it's because I have them all. I just it's work, ethic. That's what you do. That's what you do. And what I love about my millennials is like, no, it's not about the work. It's about the value of what it is that you do within the workplace. Right. It is the footprint that you're going to leave on this planet. So I think a lot of people, what happened with COVID, because you see this, a lot of people are like, this work thing, I don't know. A lot of people are not going back to work. They we're now seeing a lot of baby boomers retiring early and just really asking themselves those fundamental questions in regards to their own, spiritual identity as it relates to this planet. What am I doing? What is my purposefulness? What value? I do a whole when I do my life coaching. So I'm a intuitive life coach. I work with, from teens all the way up to 45-year-olds. So I take older, but that's my niche. One of the questions I give them is an exercise, and listeners, go ahead and do it because it's the hardest question. And I give it to them. I have it's a 21 session program, and literally by the end of it, your whole creative soul will just be unveiled, and every aspect of your life will be better than what it was when we first started. And so the first question I said, well, here's your exercises. This one is not due till the 21st session. So they have to get a piece of paper. They put their first and last name, and then they have to write, why was I born?
Oh, love it.
And I said, you have 21 sessions. Well, then I love it. Well, what do you mean? I said, well, why were you born? You mean like, when was I born? No. Why were you born? You mean like what day I was born? No. Why were you born?
Right.
And in 21 sessions, the answers are just amazing. I've had people who've written dissertations, 30, 40 pages. My favorite, really, and I you can't steal this out there, but my favorite, they sent it to me. Yeah, they emailed it to me and had said their name. I won't say who it is. Said, why was I born? And they put because. Brilliant. That was brilliant. And I had someone that wrote almost 30 pages, and I read the whole thing. Now, was one more right than the other? No, it was right for them. But the extras, right? I was like, like you, I was like, this is brilliant. This is so, oh my God, this is so good. But to get them in a direction, right? Again, it goes back to when we started, to get busy living or get busy dying, right? We only get one round here.
Sure.
Right? So it's facing our addictions. It's facing our fears. It's facing those things that our head tells us that we're not, versus allowing ourselves to be who it is that we're supposed to be and be the greatest versions of ourselves on a daily basis is what I attempt to do in my life coaching.
Absolutely. And what a great program to follow if at the end of it you got the answer to why you're on earth.
Or just the fact, I mean, sometimes it's not about it's like my favorite movie is The Wizard of Oz. I use exercises all the time from that and analogies when I work with my clients. And as we well know, it wasn't about Oz. The dude was a fraud. You get there like, this is the ride.
He's behind the curtain.
What? I thought this was. This is the roller coaster. This is only 2 feet tall, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, that wasn't the ride. The ride was there. It was the journey there.
It was the journey. Right? Yeah.
So for me, to get them to even embrace the question, right? And this is what like I said, I have this book that's going to be coming out in April or May, Mother's Day, and it's about the relationship between my mom and I. It's taken me 10 years to do because I've had to face every fear and adversity and mindset, besides the death of my mom, which was in 1997. And I know you've seen my Today Show episode.
Yes.
Yeah, if you want to look at it, you can just go to YouTube and put Brent Scarpo, the Today Show episode. But, my mom was a wise woman, and, we proved that there was life after death. You'll see that in the episode. And, out of that, interestingly enough, because I always say, if you listen to that intuition, which I have, and we all have, if you take the moment to listen, you will get the answers. But most of us are so on our phones, trying to get 1,000 likes on Instagram, trying to get the most popular TikTok, that we're not able to listen to what it is that's being provided to us by our own intuition. So, I went on the show. I discovered that when you're on the show and you've got a website that's got your telephone number, people call you.
Right.
They call you. And it was hundreds. It was crazy. And every third call was, hey, I'm on Amazon.com. I can't find your book. Can you please tell me the name of your book? And I would just reply, thank you so much. I really appreciate the call. I don't have a book. And after about 3 of these, it takes me a while. I went, oh, really?
I have a book.
I got it. Oh, no. See, I've got ADHD. One of my specializations is working with people with ADHD. I love my millennials, but I love my millennials who have ADHD. That I really love them, because I was like, I can't. No. I can't sit down for 5 minutes. Any little shiny thing that comes through, I'll be like, what? Where we go? What do we do? Right?
Same.
Oh my God! Right? 10 years I've been working on this thing. I've had 5 people who paid me in advance just to keep me accountable. Oh yeah, the lady at the AAA in Palm Springs. I'm sitting in line again. Are you listening? She's like, oh, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm writing this book. Oh, what is it about? It's about life after death, but the wisdom that my mother shared with me and the lessons that I think every human being should try to avail themselves to. Wow, that sounds amazing. When it's going to be ready? So I'm really not sure. I just started. She pulls out $20 and she hands it to me. I said, what's this for? She said, I'm going to buy the book. I said, I haven't even started writing it. She said, you will.
Oh, I love it. How's that happen?
I know. I have her. I said, I need your name and address so I know where to send the damn thing when it happens, right?
Yeah.
So again, the universe, spirit, your God, your higher power, Buddha, Mother Nature, I don't care what you call it. Part of my practice is find something outside of yourself that you can connect with. You realize that you're not doing this alone, right? And then when you do that, be afraid of what you pray for, because I have all these people, right? I've had like 6 people give me money, right? And the only reason, again, it's coming out in May is because I was going to try to do this Christmas. I didn't want to do it during COVID. And again, it's a great life coaching book. It has exercises at the end of each chapter. You can go to brentscarpo.com in May when it comes up. But, I told you that I'm kind of new to the podcast thing, though I've done radio. So you're like my 9th or 10th or whatever. So the one before it was this lady. Again, when you put action, let's bring it back to Shawshank. When you get busy living, when you overcome the fear, when you develop good friends and relationships that support you both during the good and the bad times, because that's number 6. That's number 6, right? You got Red and you've got Andy Dufresne. And even in prison, you can develop good relationships where you are supported. When you share the value of who you are with other people, right? That's number 7. When number 8, opportunities are everywhere. You just have to look and listen. You have to listen. So she gave me the $20. Oh, I better get busy on this book, right? I just did a podcast. The woman's like, oh my gosh, I saw your Today Show episode. I believe in everything you believe in. We're going to talk about that. When's your book coming out? I said, well, he said, it's taking me 10 years. My friends who call me all frustrated and upset, I said, look, do you go out to the grapes and smush it and drink it, or do you wait 10 years and call it wine? This is going to be a great bottle of wine. Leave me alone, and then I hang up, right? And so she said, well, it has to come out on Mother's Day. I said, well, that's funny you should say that. No, it has to come out on Mother's Day. It's about your mom. I said,
Makes
okay.
sense.
And she said, well, by the way, I do my podcast way ahead. And I said, oh, okay, well, when is this one going to air? Because in TV, we do the same thing. We book, we'll shoot it, and then it'll be out in 2 weeks. She said, Mother's Day. Wow. And I said, this is going on Mother's Day? She's like, I have an idea. Let's just talk about the book as if it's come out. And we did.
Oh, it's wild.
So now I have to have it done by Mother's Day. I don't have a choice. Right? But the I don't, that's not the plan. I was like, let me just stall, right? Like addiction. Let's just stall going to the AA meeting. Let's I want a better job. Let's just stall getting my resume together. I want, let's just stall. Let's just string it along, right? And now it's just not happening because
Gotta go.
Right. So I'm like, oh yeah, go to www.brentscarpo.com. You'll see the book. It's called The Red Balloon. It's going to be a wonderful life coaching book. I'm talking about like the things done. Not close. Even as life coaches, we are tested and we as human beings. So yeah, that is, and but that all of us, part of, number 9 I have is practice random acts of kindness, right? One of my favorite scenes when I turned on and I saw Shark yesterday, there's a great scene. And again, 9 practice random acts of kindness where Andy Dufresne's on top of the roof. And I was sitting there. I'm in a chair because I wanted to see this scene live. Okay. And they're tarring the roof, right? And Clancy Brown, who plays one of the guards, realizes that his wife got some money in an inheritance and he doesn't want to pay the taxes. And so Andy Dufresne says, look, I can help you. You don't have to pay taxes. They almost throw him off the roof, right? Because they thought, he was going to do something. Phenomenal scene. He said, no, I can do this. I'm a tax, financial person. I'll do this for you, right? And he said, you can? He said, yeah, you don't have to pay any taxes. No taxes? Yeah, you sure? Yeah. Takes him off from throwing him on the roof. And then he says, the random act of kindness, all I ask is 2 beers apiece for my colleagues that are tarring the roof. Right. Now, what chutzpah is that? There you are, a prisoner in Shawshank Redemption. They're about to throw your ass off the roof because you dared to leave the area, right? And then he says, but he's practicing this random act of kindness, right? He has good friends and relationships that have supported him during this process, right? Number 4 is the greatest strength is inside you. So he finds the strength inside him. So he writes the letter once a week to the state to get the library books that you'll never get that, right? He gets those 2 beers and there's this great scene. We had to wait for the sunset. The one prisoner comes over because Andy's on the opposite of the roof, just sitting by himself. And he said, would you like a cold one? And Andy Dufresne says, no, I quit drinking. You see, it wasn't about him. It wasn't about him. It was about, it wasn't. It was about him practicing this random act of kindness and trying to, and we see this now in COVID, to try to live as a normal life as possible in a horrible situation. Yeah. Now you just paralleled prison to COVID, and that just registered. Boom, right? Absolutely. We've all been in prison. We've all been in fear, right? Yeah. We're losing our sense of hope. Fear will hold you prisoner. Hope will set you free. That's why when, all my clients were just freaking out, and rightfully so, I was like, okay. And I remember when I first said it, because this one girl was just like freaking out and I had to calm her down. I said, you have 1 of 2 choices. Either do the time or the time's going to do you. Pick one. And with each one, there will be consequences. Yeah. Well, I don't want the time to do me. I said, so let's take a deep breath and let's figure out why this is happening. So my friend who lost all 3 jobs in 72 hours, that had a mom with 2 kids and was freaking out. Okay. She now went to real estate school, got a real estate license. And what's happening? Real estate boom, everybody, Perfect. So if we listen, if we stay in action, if we have those relationships, we practice random acts of kindness. Number 10 is in life, you must take risks. Love it. Right? Gotta take those risks. Yes. How many people have been sitting home for 2 years? I'm just not going to leave the home for a year. No. Right? When I was working for this corporation, I was going into hotels and speaking and doing, that's what I do. They said, we have to do Zoom. I said, what? Zoom. What the heck? Zoom? Go to webinar. Go to Google or Google, what? Google Meetings. What are you talking about? See, my brain doesn't work that way. The fact that we're even able to talk like this took me about 6 months just to figure this part out. Right? So, because of now, I'm a baby boomer. I push against this because it's not in my familiarity, right? Millennials, they're like boom, 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 right? It's in their familiarity. So, when I said, I got to do this, right? I know yeah, I just have to take this risk. I've got to face the fear that I cannot stand technology. I've got to face the fear that I'm a little ignorant when it comes to that. And then I have to, number 6, my good friends and relationships. So I just, I always joke, if you really want to know how to work on a computer, call a kindergartner.
Yeah,
I call kindergartners all the time. I call my friends, hey, you got a first grader, right? Tell them to come over to the house and I'll give them some candy. Why? I need to figure out how to do the computer. They do. They come over.
Give them some candy.
Give them some, look, hey, can you help me? Well, yeah. Blah, blah, blah. I'll tell you, one of the greatest things I've seen that represents thinking outside the box and bringing these cultures together. And this is just, I'm having a moment here. But I do a lot of consulting, obviously, in education, because education and entertainment are my 2 biggest passions. And I went to this one school, this was years ago, and I knew the principal quite well. I was doing a presentation there, and we were prepping for it. And she said, "Listen, we have time. I want to show you something where we just started." I said, "Okay." So we end up going to it was a resource room, right? And this was such a great moment for me. And, there was all the tables up against the walls. There were computers on all the tables. And at each computer was a senior from the senior citizen homes in the various, in the area. And next to them was a first grader.
Oh, wow.
No, Mrs. Johnson, if you want to send a picture of your grandson to your daughter, you have to push this button. Now, here's all these grandparents that don't get to see their grandchildren. They've got a first grader next to them, teach them how to use the computer. You've got the first, second, and third graders that may not have a grandma or grandpa that they can see. They're having this wonderful, wonderful connection. And can you imagine the self-worth, self-confidence, and self-esteem that's being generated above and beyond they're teaching these seniors how to use a computer?
Heck yeah, that is amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing, man.
I was I was in tears. I was like, this is really like, wow, this is like, and I tell people all the time, this is a great thing. Actually, we do it every day for about an hour. During we call the different seniors and they bus them over and they want to learn.
Learn. That is amazing. And you found your moment.
I was like, my mother used to say, Brent, there's nothing that you can do that will surprise me, but but just let me know ahead of time before it happens if you could, is what she would say. It's that old adage of, back in the day before cell phones all out, my mother would always give us, I'm really saying my age now. So we go out like as teenagers, and she'd always give us, my sister, my brother, and I, here, and she'd give us a roll of dimes.
Okay.
Right? It's like, if you're going to be late, call me.
Right.
Now, for the millennials, I know this is really difficult for you to understand, but and I get it. Back then, you had to pull off to the side of the road, find the nasty the telephone, put the dime into the machine, call, see if you needed extra money just in case it was long distance or something like that, and say, "Hey, Mom, I'm here. I'm running late. I'll be there. Just call so I don't worry."
Right.
So it's still here, but now it's just text so I don't worry.
Right. And it's a hell of a lot simpler, yet they still don't text. That's my kids in general. Right. Now the difference, I'm going to date myself. So you just dated yourself because you put 10 cents in the phone. When I was having to put money into the phone, I didn't have cell phones, but I had to put a quarter into the phone. So.
Inflation.
I
had it good. I was like, and it's funny because she'd always, my mother, I don't think she quite realized what she was doing because, it was, Friday or Saturday, she was all like there's one time I said, "Where's my roll of dime?" She said, "You didn't call last weekend." I'm like, "So I still spent it." "No, you're supposed to use that for the phone." I was like, "Oh, I thought it was money. I thought we had." No, that's for the phone. That's for emergencies.
Oh man. So I tried to explain to my kids what a payphone was, and what we started out with a beeper.
Remember the pagers?
Mind blown. He kept saying they couldn't figure out what you do. So you get the number, and then you pull over and call them. From where? And I'm like, we put a quarter in the machine. Well, where are those at?
Right.
Well, they're everywhere. you know, they're everywhere.
I remember when I was because I've been in education for 30 years and then entertainment, and in between entertainment gigs I would do consulting, just trying to have those side hustles and such. And when I remember when they would tell us about kids that had the pagers and such. And there's this one kid, he was like a junior, and I just remember looking at him because we had to ask these questions. And kids, at then they were looking at their pagers. They weren't looking at their phones. Now they're looking at their phones. And I'm like, I think his name was Jose. I said, Jose, why are you looking at your pagers? He said, oh, I just gotta. And then I looked, and he had 2 pagers. I said, what? I said, you have 2 pagers? He said, yeah. I said, what are they for? He said, well, one of them is for my mom and one of them is for business. I said, what kind of business you got? He goes, it's none of your business.
There you are.
It's none of your business, Mrs. Scarpo. I'm like, oh, I know what your business is. You just better watch yourself out, because if you get caught, so absolutely. There's a great so I love TikTok. I do like social media. I have to be part of it because I love my millennials, and so we'll add another great life lesson for all our listeners. So there's a certain way to communicate with millennials, and each generation has a way to communicate. And what I tried to advocate for corporations is really, since millennials make up the highest percentage of our workforce, ask them, how do you want us to communicate? Because you'll call them or send it, and you don't hear back from them, and you just get frustrated, right? So there was this article that was done about 3 years ago. USA Today did this 6-month research on how to communicate with millennials. And so I'm gonna get this right. With millennials, there's a way to do it. So you text first, then email, then call. If you call first, that is perceived as being rude.
Oh, what?
Yes. Absolutely. I'm telling you, if you want to, again, remember the French, the German, and so if you want to get something done, you have to learn how to speak their language. So, I remember one corporation I was working with, and I said, look, why don't you just get a panel of employees that represent millennials and the panel of, baby boomers, and just ask a simple question. How would you like us to communicate with you?
Sure.
Just ask that question. And I remember getting an email back afterwards because they actually did it. And oh my God, this was so great. They're like, we don't have time. Now, this is going to be funny. They're like, we don't have time to be on the phone. We have so much stuff to do. We don't have time. So just text us and we'll get back to you. Right? I mean, I remember my mother say, I don't have time to write a letter.
Oh, yeah.
Write a letter.
Yeah, right. That's write a letter.
I mean, and I teach interview skills. I help. So I work specifically, like I said, millennials, but especially in careers and relationships. So I always say to all people, if you want a job, like if you really want a job, and I've done this many times, and many people will text or email me or call me and say, oh my God, this worked. If you really want that job, there will be, say, 50 people apply for the job. Those 50 people then will get down to 20 who will go through the interview. The 20 people will go for the interview. Out of the 20, maybe 10 will respond back in some form of communication, thanking them for the interview. Out of the 10, 8 will probably do some kind of email or now a text. Probably 1 or 2, because they met me, will actually get a card.
Oh, wow.
They will use something called cursive.
Yeah, amazing. They will
write,
that.
Thank you so much for the opportunity of being able to blah, 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 blah. They will put an envelope. They will lick it. I know, you can't lick a text. I know. I'm for those who are just listening to this, I'm licking the envelope. They'll fold the envelope. Then they do something that we don't do. They'll walk to the post office and buy what? A stamp. Oh my God. And then they'll lift the stamp and they'll put it and they put it in the mailbox, right? I guarantee you have just probably upped by 1,000% your ability to be able to get that job. I was saying this to a crowd of about 400 people when I was teaching communication for corporate America. And this guy raises his hand in the back, right? He said, oh my God, that works. I said, tell me your story. He said, yeah, I really want this job so bad. There were like 100 people at interview, and I had heard this, so I decided to write it. And he sent it to, he goes, I got the job. And he'd been employed, this is before COVID, for like a year. And he was so excited. And he said, actually, my supervisor, we don't see our supervisor. We don't see our manager.
Right.
We text or we email or we do Zoom or we do the conference call. So for some reason, he said my supervisor who gave me the job, or the woman who gave me the job, said, look, come see me. Oh, I know what it was. I printed out your book for you from my class. So he goes up. It's been a year since he's been with the job. He said, I'm talking to her and I haven't seen her for a while. And she's talking about the class. And I really, let me know what you get and all that. He said, I didn't hear a word. She said, all I was doing is looking past her head, because on the bulletin board in the back of her was the card I sent her a year ago.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
It works.
It
Do
does.
it, guys.
Yeah.
You bring that up, and when my oldest son, I have two sons and a daughter. My oldest son, we told him to go mail his invitation or his thank you cards for graduation. He didn't know how to mail.
Oh,
I forgot to teach him how to mail. I didn't think you would have to. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
And then, he didn't know how to mail. Where do I go? How do I get stamps? And what?
Right.
What
This costs money. I have to lick them. No, you don't have to lick them. At least, look, when I was a child, I had to lick the stamps. Now these kids got it good. All they have to do is peel it off and put it on.
There was too many calories.
I had to walk uphill in the snow 6 miles to the post office to get the stamp to lick it to put it on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh.
The changes. You're absolutely right. And this is good listening. It's not, look, the transformations and the changes in society are happening so quickly, and it's very difficult. Part of why I love millennials so much is because I also, what's the word I want to use? I'm very concerned about them, right? Mm-hmm. They have an insane amount of information that they have to take in on a daily basis. You and I remember when there wasn't the computer, I suspect, or maybe I do. Yep. I remember when there wasn't the, I even feel it. It's like, one of the exercises in my 21-week program is once a week, all my clients have to take themselves out on a date.
Oh, wow. Cool.
They can't bring anybody, right? I don't mind if they bring their phone, but they can't use it. And they actually have to find, and I have hundreds and hundreds of examples, but in the first, because they end up doing 12 of these over the course of them. And they're like, what am I doing? I said, you're going to take yourself on a date. I'm going with somebody. No, you're taking yourself on a date. What do I do? Whatever you want. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means you can do whatever you want. And then once I get them into the groove of it, right, spending that time just alone in a sense of peace, not having to deal with my self-worth and self-esteem and self-confidence being gauged by Instagram, right? So we have them that will go to the movie and watch a movie by themselves. So take themselves out for dessert, go to a playground and swing for an hour, right? Go to the dollar store and grab some coloring books and crayons and go for a hike and color for an hour, just to be able to once a week take that hour and go.
Right. That is beautiful. And you're right. They're downloaded so much information. I'm sure our brains can handle it. We just weren't tested as children like that. But imagine the amount of stress and pressure they're under by taking in that information.
To your point, can the brain handle it? And how much do we want to push that? Look, I do a lot of work in the world of suicide prevention and such. I have 2 clients who have family members very close to them that committed suicide. We know that suicide has literally multiplied times 10 since 1999, between 18 and 23 and 23 through 45, times 10. So to your point, I would say, can our brain really take all that? Because the level of suicide amongst our young people, our millennials, is astronomical.
Sure.
And so I think that, I'm going to push back on what you said.
It's all good. Do it.
I think that we really have to, we're at we're at a moment in time where we have to really reevaluate, what it is that we're choosing in regards to. I mean, well, look what just happened this past week. All the stuff on Capitol in terms of Facebook and what they do and what they don't do, and the value of my self-worth as it relates to Instagram. And it's hard enough just to be a young person in today's society, let alone tie it into technology. But that's where we're at, and we have to address the issue.
Right, absolutely. And you know better than anybody what technology can do to people and how it separates society, and how all the algorithms that I can't remember the name of the Netflix show, but Social Dilemma, maybe.
Oh, Social Media, the one that had the story about Mark. Yeah,
and so and they proved that algorithms were actually separating our society because they were able to give me everything that I wanted to see, and therefore basically telling me that I'm right. My thoughts are right, and they could be outlandish because I'm not talking to anybody else. I'm talking to a computer. And it's telling me, it's gratifying me with likes, and you're doing the right thing. I mean, I
then
know
you get to that person, right? And I saw this from the early 2000s to now. Then you get to that person that says, no, we didn't pick you for the job.
Right.
Well, we have another candidate that's better, but I am. Right. And they never had those tools, and they never had the ability to have those feelings, whether it's, analytical thinking, whether it's dealing with our emotions and feelings. I mean, I remember this is, 19 years ago. Well, no. Yeah. When a very good friend of mine called, and she was just in tears, and, she'd been dating this guy, actually met him in church, and, all this stuff. And I said, what's wrong? She said, yeah, we broke up. I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. What happened? She's like, I don't know. I said, what do you mean? She said, he emailed me.
Oh, that's still not right today.
No, he's still not right today, right? That was 2001. I said, he what? Right? But now here we are, 2021. I can tell you hundreds of people I know that have been fired by the corporation via text, via email. Their boyfriend or their husband or their wife or their partner, texted them and said, I want a divorce, right? Because what happens is, over the course of that flooding of I'm perfect, then we actually have to make somebody feel bad. And we don't have the tools, and we don't have the history and life experience of making that happen and actually seeing the whites of their eyes. Right. And then we find all these different ways. And then it happens to us. We get broken up with. We wonder why suicide is multiplied times 10 since 1990.
Amen. That is amazing. Yes, sir. You're right. Thank you so much, Brent. We have gone way over, but I'm cool with that if you were cool with that.
Yeah, no, look, I told you we could do this, Here, I want to offer something to your listeners. So yes, I am a life coach, and I do intuitive readings. If you go to the Today Show, which you've seen, I did something quite interesting. I woke up in 3 o'clock in the morning, and I realized that my mother had cancer. Now, I just received the message. The next morning, I asked my mother when was the last time that she had a physical. She said it had been 5 years. I made the appointment for her, and we found a small dark mass in her right lung. Had I not listened to that, we would have not had the 2.5 years that we had with each other, but I listened. So, I have these abilities. So I want to offer all your listeners, as long as I'm 6 feet above ground, if you text, let's see, what do we want to text? Let's text ditches. We'll text the word ditches to 760-835-3327. I will do a complimentary strategic intuitive reading for you. I guarantee you that you'll have all these tools within the first hour to take away and really transform your life. Again, just text ditches, since we're on this podcast, to 760-835-3327. I will get back to you. We'll set it up. Completely complimentary. I want people to have an avenue to be able to take the action necessary to try to make the difference in their life, versus just sitting there in isolation and believing that there's nothing that can be done.
Absolutely, man. And everybody should text you and tell me, your book comes out on
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
Yeah.
I am so excited for you, man. That is
We'll
excellent.
come back. We'll come back. We'll have another. I'll have the book. Let's pray. I have.
Yeah.
Let's just pray. Everybody start praying right now. Send me the energy. But no, we'll have the book and we'll talk about that as well. But yeah, Mother's Day is called The Red Balloon. Transforming your life by one inspirational story at a time. And just going to be amazing. So I'm very excited about it.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on, Brent. And guys, go out and check out his website. It's a beautiful thing. This video I saw on today's show was awesome. You really need to see it. So get going, get the book, and guys, we will see you next week.
Thank you for tuning in to Sons of Ditches. For more information, go to my website, ronworley.com, and my YouTube channel, Sons of Ditches. Facebook, Ron L. Worley, or Instagram at Ronald L. Worley II.